Get your rub on with Addicted to the Q.
There you are. I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries, man. Got my high-tech headphones on.
So how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Put this in my fancy tripod or my phone holder, so I have to sit here and hold my phone the whole time.
That's why I got to lean up against my computer. That's why it's on my computer. So, but apparently this doesn't. This fancy technology doesn't work via computer.
I guess I need to send that. I need to put that in whenever I ask permission that for some reason it has to be on the phone. I don't know why it will not work on computers for some reason.
I didn't even know what group it was, so I was sitting there looking for it. I was like, oh, I don't even know where we're supposed to go. So anyway, we're here. We got her going now.
That's right. So let me start with introduce yourself and your team name.
My name is Brad Leighninger, and I am with Gettin Basted. So out of Southwest Missouri, Branson, Springfield area.
So what made you come up with the name Gettin Basted?
My wife actually did it. We did it. Our first contest, we did it as a different team name. It was Rockin' Ribs in Springfield, Missouri, 2012. And we came and a friend of mine had signed up and he had to back out. And he knew I'd always kind of talked about doing competition. So he's like, all right, I got a spot. It's free if you want it, whatever. We borrowed a smoker and they'd already made the signs up. So we didn't know, we didn't know anything about it. And so we ended up cooking under his name, which is a good rub. His name's Joey Heat. He still cooks a little bit of a few contests here and there. And so we cooked the first contest, a good rub, and we ended up getting 3 meat calls, bomb chicken. Didn't have a clue what we were doing in chicken, And one, they had like a Reese's potato salad contest, the world food, right when world food was starting to put on. And so we ended up winning that, winning trip to Las Vegas, $1,000. And, the hook was kind of set from there. Ended up, I think we finished 6th or 7th that day in our first contest. And that was in late April, I think is when that contest usually is or was. And, we're sitting there, well, we got to come up with a name. We're going to do another one. We signed up for one on the Lake of the Ozarks at the beginning of June. Was our second contest. We had to come up with a name. So we were just sitting there, we literally a brainstorming session. We had some good stuff, funny stuff, inappropriate stuff. And my wife says, Getting Basted. And she said, I was like, well, that's the one. That's it. So it's been a good thing, man. It's been fun to brand. We had our logo made on our pig. We did all kinds of fun stuff with him. So it's been a good name, man. I'm glad she came up with it. So, but I've got to give her the credit.
That's awesome. So what got you started in competition barbecue?
Man, I've always cooked, I've always worked in restaurants, when I was younger, college, bartended restaurants, ended up getting, a quote unquote real job doing some IT work, later on, but I always still enjoyed cooking. I didn't like necessarily the restaurant life, the restaurant hours, everything else, but I always loved the business and I love cooking. I did all the cooking at home, man. I mean, literally I, watched the Food Network, and of course we stumbled across Pitmasters, man, that was back in the time when Pitmasters was big and went to the Royal. And I think it was 2010. I'm not exactly sure what year it was, but before I started cooking, we actually went to the Royal as spectators and we did like the Royal tour and talked to Johnny Trigg and, did the whole 9 yards, went there as spectators, thought it was pretty cool. And just watching Pitmasters and, like I said, my friend, it was sitting there and it's like, hey man, I got a spot. I know you like this stuff. You want to give it a shot? And we're like, yeah, what the hell, man, let's go do it. So that it kind of jumped in there and 2 weeks notice, borrowed a smoker, did our first contest, man, cooked my first whole packer there. I cooked brisket flats, but I never cooked the whole brisket. Cooked up my first whole brisket at that contest, got a brisket call. I think we cooked full spares and turned them in and we actually got a top 5 in ribs. And I didn't even know to trim them, but I'd run across lucky enough. So, we went to the Lake of the Ozarks a lot. And we cooked at the Lake of the Ozarks a lot back then. That's kind of before we wasted our money on barbecue. We used to waste our money on boating. And, we'd smoke meat there all the time. And the G2M supermarket in Laurie, Missouri, I remember my first experience with Blues Hog. It's before Tim bought it. It's when Bill owned it. And so we actually had Blues Hog in our arsenal. Little did we know that's the silver bullet. That's why we ended up getting competition calls. We put Blues Hog on our full spares and ended up having some success back in the day. Didn't know what the hell we were doing. I don't even know if we wrapped the ribs, man, but they were good. I still remember those ribs. I still can't do that. Like I remember pulling off the smoker when they were done. I was sitting there looking at it and like juice was shooting out of them. And I still to this day, I don't know how many times I won ribs. And I'm still like, I can't do what I did on that first day, at ribs. Those were probably the best competition ribs I ever made. On
That's
accident.
awesome.
completely didn't know what the hell I was doing and lucked into it. So
That's awesome. So which one is your favorite contest to cook of all the ones you've cooked?
oh man, I mean, I love that one, and it's changed the Ozarks Barbecue Fest now. Because it's my first one. It's the first contest I did. It's the first one I won. I've won it 3 times since then. And, it's a hometown event. So everybody shows up, family, everything else. So that, Rockin' Ribs, now the Ozark Barbecue Fest is probably, my number one contest. But then other than that, it's the big ones, right? I mean, I love cooking the Royal. I love cooking the Jack, Memphis in May. Man, that's why we're here, right? Like we all do it. It's like we're doing it to get rich, right? We're doing it to prove that we have the best barbecue. Yeah, to do that, man, you want the big contest.
That's coming up. That's on my list of questions to ask him. So, tell us about winning the Jack Daniels. What was that experience like?
I mean, I've been all around it before. I've cooked a couple 700s down there. I think that was my 5th time there, and I've been close. I've been in the top 5. I've won categories, and I've been there. It was almost a relief. Obviously it's very exciting, but I mean, I'd won pretty much everything, and I'd won King of the Smoker, and I'd won some big events, but to get that, get that Jack Daniels, man, because you don't know how many times you're going to get there, right? I've won 7 to get in every time. And, you cooking where we cook, and you're based out of Missouri too, I believe, we're here in the Midwest. And you got to win 7 if you want to get in, right? There's one draw from Missouri. And so somebody's going to get lucky to get in there, but there's, hundreds of teams that are vying for that. There's a ton of contests. So you got to win 7 cooking where we're at. We're not going to go get a home state or get a Montana draw or whatever the heck it is, right? So it's special to win it because it's almost a relief because you don't really know how many opportunities you're going to have. And so, I was sitting there's my 5th one, and you're almost sitting there going, okay, man, I'm getting calls. And I had a pretty good idea. I had one. I wasn't sure. I didn't hear Joe get his brisket call. I know he 180 chicken. And I thought that was his only call. And we're counting down there, and Rooters and Tutors had a couple calls. And I had 3 high ones. I had, a couple thirds and a fourth, I think, or something like that. But I didn't have, I believe it was a chicken call I didn't have. And Tim had just gone through this maybe, 4 or 5 years ago where he had 3 calls, including a 180 in brisket. And they called him for 7th overall. And everybody's like, what the hell? He did that bad in chicken. And so you never know at those majors, especially when they have kind of celebrity judging and everything else. Man, if you don't have 4 calls, you don't know, right? You're sitting there, you're just going, and they're getting up there to the top 3, and I didn't know Joe. I would have been a lot more worried if I would have known Joe had 2 calls. And they called Joe for reserve. And I, at that point, I'm like, okay, I mean, I got a top 10 out of this. So it was a great feeling, but I put a lot of pressure on myself. And so it's almost like, okay, man, we won that. Now I'm going in there. And what's fun is, since cooking that contest, like I went to the KCBS World Championship, I got a reserve grand championship. Man, I got reserve at the Royal in 2019, and it was almost like a gut punch. Like you just got reserve grand at second, at one of the biggest contests on the planet, and you got 2nd place, and it feels like it's devastating because you're right there, and you're like, man, I almost got that damn thing won. Well, the cool thing about it is your mentality now changes. You've got the Jack now, you've got Memphis in May, you've got some of these major titles that you've got now. And so that takes the pressure off. Like, I don't have to go there and grind now. Like, I don't have to sit there and be like, okay, man, I've done a lot of barbecue, but I got to win one of these things. Well, now I've got a couple of them. So like I said, it's almost a relief. And cooking, like I said, KCBS Worlds, it was almost just like, hey, man, just you're cooking loose, you're cooking free. So I think I'm going to enjoy the Jack more this year, if that makes any sense, because it's just not going to be the pressure there.
Now you got an automatic draw because you won it last year, right?
Yeah. So I had 7, and then I also it was in already, so it didn't matter. But so if you win it, it'd be cool if you got like an exemption for a period of time. But you just get the next year is all you get. So I've got one more year because I won it, and then other than that, man, it's back to earn your way into it.
That's awesome. Brings me to my next question. What was the Memphis in May, which you had won 1st place shoulder the year before? What was winning Memphis in May like?
That one, you don't have as much pressure as expectation. That's just fun. I mean, the cool thing with that is Tim and I are going out there and breaking things, right? Like we're out there doing stuff that's kind of the last frontier. We started doing drums, 2012, 2013, there weren't a lot of drums. And so we kind of broke in, but everybody's got them now, and everybody's cooking hot and fast, even if you're not on a drum. you're cooking hot and fast, because a lot of the legwork that Tim and I put in. But Memphis is the old guard, man. These guys are still cooking the way they've always cooked. It's Byron, it's Melissa Cookston, it's Brad Orson from the Shed, it's Chris Lilly, it's Tuffy Stone. I mean, it's all these names. And to go in there and be able to come out with a win, it's almost like, I have too much respect for those guys to say it's a middle finger in the air, but it's almost just like, hey, man, here it is. Like this is the old, Tim and I smashed through that ceiling, like you go look at the list of Memphis winners and it's a lot of the same people, and it's a lot of the old, the old blood. And it's just, it'd be kind of like Mizzou jumping up and winning a college football national championship. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? That unexpected to come in there, especially with the on-site portion, especially with everything in there. And it's, it was just a ton of fun, man. Like it's probably the best day, just building through, because and it's so intense because it's all day. Like you go and you cook, right? You cook that morning, you turn your blind box in at like 10:30 in the morning. And so our blind box we didn't like, but if you're on the barbecue league, you'll get to see all that. That's getting released. Tim and I dumped everything in the trailer on that blind box, trying to make it good. And we ended up getting a good score, obviously. But then the on-sites, you roll right into the on-sites, and you got 3 on-sites on there. And then you're sitting there and you're waiting, and you kind of relax, and you're like, okay, did I top 10? Did I make the top 3? They come and they let you know. And they come and they let you know the top 3, and then that's the roller coaster, right? And then you're right back into it. Okay, I've got to go back in here and do it again. And then you got to do another presentation on site. So it's just all day roller coaster. And then you're at the awards to figure out where in the top 3 you won. Oh, you won whole hog. Okay, well, you can't relax then. Did you win the grand championship? So it's just an intense day. But it was probably the best day I've had in barbecue, as far as just fun and exceeding even the expectations I set for myself.
Do you think you've changed the culture at Memphis in May at all, from the low and slow to the hot and fast?
I mean, I don't know. I think we've changed the culture in barbecue big time. I mean, I think the effect that hot and fast and drums and Tim and I's success cooking that way have completely changed the landscape of barbecue. It's bled over less into Memphis than it has anywhere else. But that being said, there are teams cooking ribs now on drums. I'm surprised nobody picked up some drums and did shoulders after the success we had the year before. But yeah, man, I mean, people have got to take notice, right? Like people are going to start cooking a little bit, and they're going to change the way. But it's hard. Like, we've got resources because Tim makes gateways. Like making one of those big 500-gallon drum smokers, man, that's not just something everybody can do, right? I mean, it takes resources and a tremendous amount of backing that we have because of Blues Hog and because of Tim making the drums. So I don't know if they're going to take off, because I think if you were trying to contract and buy one of those from Tim, and I don't know, but I'm guessing the price tag would be pretty large. So I don't know if you'll see a lot of drum smoker or whole hog cookers, but I think we proved the style. Like we got one done in 9 hours. So do people turn up the heat next year? I would think they would, right? Like I would think that instead of sitting there doing the overnight, we started it at 3:34 in the morning, like we always do. Stay true, and we always do. And the cool thing is everybody's so helpful there, and everybody comes up and gives us advice. And hey, this isn't your world. This is how you do it. This is what you're supposed to do. And Tim and I are just dumb enough or arrogant enough or whatever it is to say, you know what, we don't know any better. Like we know how to cook this way. So let's cook this way. And we did that with shoulder, and then we did it with whole hog, and it's worked out both times. So yeah, I think people take notice, and they may turn the heat up a little bit, but I doubt you'll start seeing a ton of drum smokers out there, just because it's difficult to pull that contest off on drum smokers without the resources that we have.
Do you think they'll cook it next year?
Oh yeah, we got to go back next year for sure. The question is, somebody's like, you're going to do ribs because that way you can win all 3 categories. But I imagine that we'll stick with whole hog. I think we'd like to win. We like to string a few grand championships together, see if we can. And the cool thing is, it's just like one of those deals when you break into that club, right? You're in that club, because now the on-site judges come, and we've got the big trophy. We can sit there and say, hey, look, we're the best in the world, right? And that helps you. Hey, my shirt, by the way, I like that. And but you know what I mean? I mean, I think you can get these things in bunches. It's going to take somebody. I know there's people. The cool thing is, and I think Memphis is going to get a lot more competitive, because I think there's a lot of good KCBS cooks that are looking at that and looking at what Tim and I did, and they really thought that it was kind of like that you couldn't get a fair shake there. And I think there's a lot of these KCBS cooks that are kind of looking at it differently now. They're going, hey man, I'm going to come in there. So I really do think that you might see a deeper field out there in Memphis as far as getting more of these, like Joe Pierce and maybe get Darren back out there. I know he's cooked it once, but get some of these KCBS cooks out there cooking.
Now you have to have a lot bigger of a team to cook Memphis in May than a traditional KCBS.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to cook more meat, number one, and number two, it's just all everything that goes into it as far as the presentation. So they judge you on everything there. So they're judging you on the setup, on the appearance, on everything. So you need an army of people to keep things clean, to help with the presentation, to help turn things over. Because you're literally you're in there and you're I think our blind box is at 10:30, and I think our first on-site was at 10:45. So you turn that blind box, you walk that blind box, and you've got to have everything set up, man. You've got to have that drum position. You got to have everything the garnish done. You've got to have the whole deal, set up, and it takes an army, man. We had a great group of people. We had T-Mac down there, Donald Cook from Who Cares always goes down there. Reagan, Barefoot Reagan, man, has always done Memphis with us, and we got Chase and Mary from Smoke This were down there, man. Great people. We had a couple other people that were coming through there helping us. We've always had, and then Fred wants to come in there. Look at that. Can't lose with that now. All right. Be careful, Fred.
Fred's watching. We got a celebrity.
Yeah. But, man, it's just, it does take a ton of people and a ton of effort. You're cooking. I mean, it's big smokers. And Brother D, Tim's brother-in-law, man, that dude drives that big old smoker and trailer around, sets it all up. So we're not sitting there. So we've got the energy to do the bullshitting when it comes time. So, man, there's just an army of people. I'm forgetting people, and I apologize. But we had a great team, probably 10 to 12 people. And man, everybody earned it. Mark Bayless, who works for Tim, he was down there helping, man. There's just a lot of good people. It takes a lot of them. And you want everybody professional and everybody sharp because everybody gets judged.
So who designed the giant drum? Was that Tim?
I mean, that reminded Tim. Yeah, I mean, he said, we're sitting there after last year, and he's talking, and well, what are we gonna do next year? And we were happy, but we won one shoulder, and we're happy, but we were pissed because we didn't win the contest. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, man, what do we got to do? And we're sitting there afterwards, and I'm just like, well, we'll come back and do shoulder again. Just content. We could get. I think we can get him in this. And Tim sits there and goes, no. He goes, no, we're going to do whole hog. And, I think that what I said to him, I said, that sounds just about stupid enough to work, man. That sounds stupid enough about something we do. And he started, man, and I was there, it's kind of funny because Tim, right? I mean, he's doing the genetics on the hogs, right? He's doing the hogs, Blues Hog products, which obviously I use a lot in my restaurants and use a lot of competition. And the smokers, building those smokers, designing everything. And a lot of it's just an accident. I mean, he didn't know how the hell they would turn out. It just turns out that you build a big smoker and they run just like the little ones. They run perfect. Who would have thought that? But they turn out. And so, man, this is Tim. And then I showed up the last 2 days. You know what I mean? I always joke around. I'm like, I mean, how many world championships does Tim have without me? But yeah, all kidding aside, man, this is Tim's win, man. I mean, he from the idea to the hog to everything else, all I did was show up and help him cook, and help him present and help him season and taste and do that stuff. So I like to think I'm like the driver and Tim's the rest of the team, if that makes any sense. And he can drive pretty damn well himself too. And I think why it works, Tim and I work so well together is, we both cook at a high level, and he's about the only guy out there that I trust. Like, I can sit there and say, hey man, let's do this. And I don't have to go and double check or check his seasoning or checking to see if it got done right. I know damn well it's going to get done right. And that's how we've always done Memphis. I've done a lot of the cooking, and Tim might do some of the boxing. We did a lot of the boxing together this time. Comes to the presentations, we both go into the presentations, and we've done so many classes that we each other. Like, we had the judges laughing. We spent more time at those, on the on-site presentation making fun of each other than do anything else. So the judges are light, the judges are loose, there's not a lot of dead time because we're both going. So it really works out well. And hats off to Tim for having the vision to take us there, because I honestly, I would have been cooking shoulder again.
So Victor asked, have you ever competed at the Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue in Fayetteville, Arkansas?
I did. They don't do it anymore. I won it I believe the last 2 or 3 times they had it. I love that contest, and it's down. It's like an hour and a half from my house, so it was always one of my favorite events. And I've got a few of their trophies, and if you got any pull with them or influence, man, let's bring it back, because I know they still do bikes, blues, and barbecue down there, but they don't have a contest anymore. I think they decided that the real estate where they put the barbecue teams was worth more to put campers, bikers that are camping there. And I mean, I'm sure they're right, but it'd be cool to get the barbecue aspect of that back, because that really was one of the great contests.
How many grands have you won in your career? That's probably a sizable number.
I think I got 61 right now and counting. So hopefully, I believe, I'd have to look and see. I won one a couple weeks ago, but I think that was my 61. So.
All right. What is your favorite meat to cook, and what's your least favorite?
I like ribs, honestly, just because I think they're the most fun, especially on a drum, right? I mean, they could take anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours, and it's just each piece of meat's different, and I think they're fun, man. Just burn and turn. It's kind of our philosophy, and we've always kind of even back in the old days, in the old gateways where the racks were a little bit closer to the lid, you get that reflection off the top, and that's just a meat that's made to cook on the drum. Briskets too, to an extent, but ribs are really the ones that are just made to cook on a drum, and they shine off of it, I think. And then, I mean, least favorite, I don't know, man. Chicken's got to be, just because it's boring. Chicken's the only cook that's really kind of timed on a drum. And so it's just one of those deals. It's like, okay, maybe you need 5 or 10 minute more or something like that. But other than that, man, it's like, it's pretty well just the automatic, just click it. So it's my least favorite, because you're doing the least to it.
You cook thighs or legs?
I'm cooking legs right now. I have been for about a year. Up until then, I'd cook thighs the whole time, but I switched over. Probably 21, probably June of 21. I switched over to legs, and I've so far been running them, man. As long as they score, I trim them at the contest now. Just show up with the Tyson family pack chicken, man, and go to town. So they're super easy.
So what made you decide to start a restaurant?
Well, I've got good business partners. So I have guys that I used to work with back in the day when I was in restaurants that are good friends of mine. We're working corporate restaurants in Branson. And they had kicked around opening up a food truck, and they were going to do it was a terrible idea. I can't remember what it was. And they called me up, and they're like, we're going to do this. I said, man, I 100% support you. I think you guys should do that, but I think your concept's horrible. Like, I think you need to do something different. And that's when they start getting, well, why don't we do barbecue? Okay, let's do barbecue. So really the food truck, was our first thing we did. We opened it in Springfield. It was 2016, late 2016, I believe. And they're cooking on cans, cooking off the back of a food truck, and we had that thing. We had only had that thing open for 3 months before we got an opportunity to move into a theater that was in Branson, so brick and mortar, but it was kind of it wasn't a traditional. It was already a space that was filled out. We moved in there, and that was early 2017, and we grew that thing in a year. I mean, we outgrew that thing in a hurry. Like, we had the theater was getting mad at us because we had people that were like, they couldn't get into the theater because we had a line out the door for barbecue. And so then we ended up moving to our current location, which is which we now, was in front of a hotel. We ended up buying a hotel and tearing it down, making more space and everything out and growing out. We ended up adding locations right before COVID. Of course, we added Nixa in 2020. Springfield came on initially as a franchise location, and then that guy ended up giving it back to us. So we've got Nixa. We've got Springfield, then I've got my play restaurant, which is where I get to experiment and have more fun with the food. It's still kind of barbecue-esque, it's still kind of, we've got live fire back there. We're still cooking on barrels, still doing a lot of stuff. It's called Downing Street Poorhouse, and we get to have a lot of fun with that restaurant. That one's in downtown Hollister. So I really, I never wanted to get back into restaurants just because I didn't want to. I know the time, I know the effort, I know the amount of failure that come out of those. So we just kind of slowly graduated our way into it, if that makes any sense. So it was just always kind of and the cool thing is I always kept my job through that until recently, because I wasn't trying to pull an income out of it. So you know what I mean? I was a partner in it. We were all partners, but I wasn't trying to pull until, the first 2 or 3 years, I kept my job, and I would just go in there and help consult, free time, food. I wasn't running shifts at the restaurant. I had two great operators that are my business partners that were operating the restaurant. So it wasn't until we actually had the money to pay me that I would actually start to draw a check on it. So I kind of got into it, the chicken way, so to speak. It's like I went all in and jumped, and it's just been very fortunate. I mean, we've been very fortunate with the restaurants and very popular and knock on wood, hopefully we continue to keep selling out, keep bringing them in.
Yeah, it's actually me and my wife's favorite restaurant in Branson. We go there probably a couple times a year.
That's great to hear.
She loves the
awesome.
corn brulee. She tries to mimic it
Yep.
at home, and she's still trying to find the recipe to get it right.
Oh man, it's so easy. You wouldn't even believe it. Just I'll send it to you. It's roux based, and it's the corn in there, and a little bit of roasted chilies, and then put the sugar on top and a torch. Man, it's pretty simple recipe.
I'm not a big corn fan, but she loves it.
She loves it. Yeah, I don't eat a lot of it. It's too sweet for me, but man, people love that. I mean, it's just like we were always doing Creek corn, and it was actually Jason, my business partner, came up with that. He's like, man, but then which kind of hurt me because I'm the chef of the place. I'm the one that does 95% of the recipes are mine, and the one everybody talks about I didn't come up with was my business partner. The guy that's the operator. He's like, what if we brulee this? I'm like, you son of a bitch, that's a great idea. Let's do that. And it's been a really good recipe.
The wife's watching. She said, thank you. So what does the future hold? That's the big question.
Man, I mean, I think we're getting ready to really, we've kind of started stretching our legs of the barbecue league, but I don't think we've tapped in that potential. And I think we're getting ready. Tim and I both are getting ready to turn our attention and our resources to the barbecue league. We've got some exciting stuff coming up. It's kind of the current iteration of it, as an online forum was kind of born out of COVID, out of necessity. But I think we're getting ready to get to where we have more. We're going to start pushing our events more, for our members, where we have more online events, get some more content, start doing some more cool content, get some more shows. We kind of had Becca working for us there for a while. She ended up quitting. Some stuff slowed down because Tim and I really didn't have the time. But over the last couple months, man, that's what we've been talking about, that it's like, hey, man, it's time to push this. And I think there's a niche there. So the next thing for me, I think the next chapter, I'm still going to do contests. And, I think I've done 16 or 17 this year. I'm not chasing points again, but I'm still going to cook, the contests I like. I'm going to cook 25, 20, whatever it is, contests a year. But other than that, man, I think I'm really going to start hammering the barbecue league and see how we can blow this thing up.
That's the next thing I was going to ask you, if you're going to chase another team of the year or if three's enough.
Man, you can't ever say never, right? I mean, I'm not right now. I don't have plans to do it in the future, but you sit there and I don't know. I mean, I still love cooking. I still enjoy it. I still love competing, and I'm enjoying some weekends off. I took a lot of the summer off this year, and I'm enjoying that as well. But I'd never say never, but I don't have any intention of it right now. But you never know, man. I may swing out and go for another one.
Are you a one-man team, or does your wife or occasionally go with you?
Well, most of the time I'm one, just because they've got other stuff to do, right? I've got, my kids are getting older. My kids are in junior high and one of them's, middle school, kind of getting older, getting into stuff. And my wife was a teacher. She just started working for Gettin Basted as as her catering manager. So now she's got some more time to be able to come to some more events. But before she could go in the summer, and my family would come out in the summer a lot. We had a fifth wheel. We bring them all out in the summer. They travel. But in the spring and the fall, when a lot of the contests and the traveling and stuff like that are going on, I go it alone a lot. If I could sucker my brother-in-law to go with me, man, Michael. A lot of you guys know Michael, man. He's a great dude. But he comes out and he helps me. Just there's a lot of road miles. There's a lot of dead time. So Michael helps with that, and he helps me lift heavy stuff, man. That's the important part. But as far as cooking, I've always pretty well been solo, man. My wife will do the ancillaries, and she got mad because I won. She's gotten second, with 180s, perfects at the Royal in dessert, second at the Jack in dessert. And I went down there. She couldn't make it to the Jack last year. I went down there and I won dessert at the Jack, so she got all pissed off, and I was like, well, it's just, I'm better at tiebreakers than you are. and so, but yeah, man, I'm hoping she's going to get to come with me. But as far as the cooking goes, I'm pretty well a one-man show, unless, me and Timmy team up for Blues Hog.
So here's a question from Todd. Do you think the sport of barbecue is still strong, or is it changing?
No, I think it's changing, man. I mean, I think that we've got to evolve our product. I think the interest is there. So as far as the sport of barbecue, I think people still want to barbecue. I think people still are interested in barbecue. I think they're interested in looking at what guys like Malcolm or B Church or these people that are doing stuff online that are great. The influencers are doing. I think we need to evolve our product. I mean, I think our product right now is a tough one to sell, right? I mean, it's expensive. It's very difficult to get into. It doesn't have a good entry point, and honestly, it's not great for our sponsors, and it's not great for organizers. So I do think that, and I saw something pop up about innovation. I think the innovation needs to come in our product that we're putting out there as competitors. I think we need to find something that has an entry point that can get people in there, because I do think that the interest is there. I think it's there. I think if somebody finds the right product, it'll blow up. It's just right now, man, it's hard. It's hard to go out and spend $2,000 a weekend, and that's being probably on the low end. You start actually really figuring out costs, and you start factoring in wear and tear on your vehicle, the bigger truck you bought, the trailer, this, that, and the other. I know you said your wife's watching, so we probably don't want to get into this, but you're spending a ton. You're spending a ton of money out there, man. And it used to be that you could probably go compete and maybe spend $500, $750, go out and compete, and you didn't have to get a check if you're spending $500 or $750. So you could have casual people that just like to go out, and they were going out and they were drinking beer with their friends, and they were going out to socialize, and it was okay. They were, field fillers, or they didn't have to. But man, you put $2,000 into that, you damn well better get some calls every now and then. Otherwise, it's hard to sit there and look at your wife and say, hey honey, I spent $8,000 this year month on barbecue. You did? What can I buy with $8,000, man? There's a lot of stuff I can buy with that, and right now, especially, in the environment we're in, everything's more expensive. So I think we're facing a lot of headwinds. I don't know we always will be, but I think a 4-meat product that's, the way that we've got is not that it needs to go away. I think there's always a place for that. And I think there's a place for people that are pros that want to do that to kind of be out front, but there needs to be an entry point where people can go and have fun, get away from the house, go cook, and do it at a lower price point. And that's something that, and frankly, Tim and I are working on that with the barbecue league as well. That's something that needs to come out, and that's what's going to feed the sport is to get people in there, because then you get them hooked, right? And then they can cut their teeth. Like, I don't know that people could do what I did now. Like you look at, and I was talking to Sterling Ball, and he and I had the similar trajectory of our first, say, 60 contests or 65 contests, where you're really like your first 2 or 3 years where you're cutting your teeth. And I look at that, and I won my first contest like 8 or 9 in. It was like my 8th or 9th contest, which is really fast. But my first 60 to 70 contests, I only had 4 wins. And so you look at that, you say 70 contests, 4 wins, man. I mean, and Sterling is the same, and we're 2 of the best to ever do it, right? And now, how do I justify, can I spend $140,000? I mean, that's legitimately what, not even counting equipment. Can I spend $140,000 to $150,000 to go out there and learn if I'm any good at this? Right. And that's what it takes for somebody to do what I did. You'd have to go out there and you may not know you're saying that. And I'm not discouraging people out there, but you're saying to yourself, man, to find out if I'm any good at this, I need to go out and spend $150,000, because the best that have ever done it, the only ones didn't even start winning until after that, right? I mean, there's a few people that stepped in, won right away. Travis Clark's done that. Matt Walker stepped in, won right away. But man, you can count them on one hand. Most people, it's going to take them that 75 contest to figure out they're any good. And I just don't think we have a place where people can do that anymore. The backyard events, I know they have those, but those, and I'm not disparaging backyard events. I think they're every bit as professional as we are. I think they're just 3-meat events. Like, they're spending as much money as we are. They're traveling as much as we are. So
that's why I just think there needs backyard just to get the
and it's competitive, man. And it's not. I mean, yeah, you're not cooking, so you're not buying a brisket. Okay, that's $200, but you're still. I mean, I don't know what it costs you to do a contest every week, but it's not like it's significantly cheaper than it would be to go do a 4-meat. You still have the expense. You've got multiple smokers. You're still probably staying the night. You're still doing a lot of the stuff that racks up the expense. So,
well, it gets cut in half whenever I tell my wife how much I spend.
Oh yeah, well, I can tell you, if she's listening, it's like $200 max. If she's listening.
So there was talk about doing a KCBS 2-meat master series. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think it's a good idea, man. I mean, I really do. I know there's people that are against it, that are against, whatever, but I think there needs to be something like people want to be, you know, we want to control costs, want to do whatever. I don't know how you do that. Some people, yeah, hey, let's do the provided events, let's do whatever. I think a two meet series like that is something, and it gives the organizers maybe where they don't have to have like right now. What do you need for a contest? You need to, you need to have enough power to run a small city so everybody can have their air conditioners. You need to do this. Well, something that's just a one day, man. I can have people come in at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning, and then they're out by that night. I don't need to set up a city. Something that's easier to organize, something that's easier. So I don't know if two meets are it. Maybe it is. I think it's definitely worth a shot, right? I mean, I think anything that's going to give a new entry point into barbecue or a lower entry point into barbecue is a good thing. And initially, the one meat contest was one of my ideas that I championed, and it ended up getting kind of bastardized. That was my initial, when I was talking about the one meat events, was that let's have that be our Friday night where we have an opportunity for the community to get involved, for the organizer to sit there and hold some spaces where those guys can go and come in there and cook against Johnny Trigg or cook against anything else. And it ended up turning into, let's add it on so point chasers can have another shot at a rib jacket, and it kind of got bastardized a little bit. So I hope the two meet series doesn't do that. Like, I'd love to truly see it be like, this is an entry point series, but we'll see how they do it, man. We'll see if, Rod Gray just took over. We'll see what his ideas are and how they take that thing. But I man, at this point, we got to try something. Like we keep going the direction we're going, and it's just slowly, like, we're just losing teams. We're losing cooks. We're losing cook-offs. And then we're going to start losing judges. We're going to start losing, you know what I mean? I mean, anything that anybody's willing to try, man, I'm all for, because something's going to stick. I think the demand's there. It's just to find the right product.
Marcus said, still want to do a cook where I turn in your not good enoughs.
Not good enough. Yeah, I get beat by those all the time. I just I'll cast off a rack rib. Yeah, Keith Boatwright. If you guys in the St. Louis area know Keith Boatwright with Outlaw Hogs, and he's notorious of taking the ribs that you didn't want and taking them and getting a 180 and beating you with them. He has done that. Briskets too. He's done that to me many a times, where the cast off meat that wasn't good enough to cook was plenty good for Boatwright. So it has been done many a times.
I like Jordan's comment. The wife can tend to get pissed, just nod and smile and start trimming for the next week. She will get on board.
There you go, man. Yeah, I mean, Jordan's running about as good as you can run right now, and it is like it's a shame, because it does take, like, God knows what Jordan spent. I mean, Jordan's got it though. That dude's selling like a car a minute out there. So, it's no problem. He could probably fund 3 or 4 teams if he wanted to, but